Hi, and welcome to Capsaicin's Warlock Tank Guide. There's been a couple people requesting one, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Uh, I'm not big on video editing, so bear with me, this is all going to be in one take. So, Warlock tanking is highly viable, at least in Turtle WoW, also in normal classic, but this one will be a bit turtle specific. But if you play on something else than Turtle, I'd highly suggest you play Alliance for concentration aura. Um, this video will be in two parts. This part I'll go over the build, the basics, some gear, and then I'll make another video going more in depth when it comes to the specific fights where you can do some fun stuff, and what works and what works not so well. So this is the gear I'm running. This is my single target tank. This one. This is huge. So you might want to spend the gold on it. It's about equivalent of a 250 spell power weapon. So you're never ever gonna replace this. And the synergy between this one, with this one, with this one, and this one is amazing. It just keeps piling on, and it just ends up with a lot of extra damage. So as you can see, there's basically stamina on everything. It's your by far best stat. So if you have to pick between like 6 stamina and 9 spell power, I'd go for the 6 stamina. I mean, once you're past like spell pen required for the specific fight, you're not really gonna struggle with threat. With the new patch, Searing Pain is just so strong. You're gonna soar above everyone. If you have the old PvP gloves, that's gonna help you a lot, because this makes you pushback immune together with intensity. Because if you don't have that, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. You're gonna lose a lot of threat. But you want to be in a party with preferably 2 paladins, like the healing group, one with the devotion aura and one with concentration aura. That opens you up to using other items that are much better. So this is this is a single target build, but where Warlocks really shine is the AoE tanking, and I can get something like item rack so you can quickly swap gears. So just basically stack stamina and armor. That's your go-to. And if you're tanking something like Karazhan with only 10 people, you may be running 2 healers, putting in some leech on your gear, that helps tremendously on trash. And then just swap to your single target build for gear for the bosses. Same goes with your pets. For AoE tanking, I can highly recommend Voidwalker, and also on some of the fights where you take a lot of damage and then you're off tanking, so your threat isn't an issue. But for bosses, usually run succubus because it makes you do 10% more damage, and the succubus do a lot of damage.
Your blades never dull.
So the build. I mean, this is basic, more stamina, but the key points in this build is you want improved stones, because that makes your rat stone generate 60% more threat to fire spells, and that's that's how you're just doing crazy, especially AoE threat. Master Demonologist, and here is the big part with the Void Walker. It just takes it's basically a defense stance, and of course Soul Link. This is much better in normal classic because there's 30%. So this was very much viable back in the day as well. And then we're putting the other points in destruction, and this is your main talent. Is I have to do more damage with the succubus, and these you can choose to put somewhere else if you like. You can have destructive reach, for example, but I find I don't really need it. You can have Pyroclasm for AoE tanking. Now the 26% ends up with only becoming less than 2% when you're hellfiring, because the chance for the hellfire is divided by 15 because it's 15 ticks. But you can also put it here, so you can summon an instant pet in case your pet dies. But if your pet dies, you also have the option to just summon an infernal, because it's a 1.5 second cost. So just to have like a no shit thing, so you still have a soul link if it dies mid fight. You can even, for some things, just go with nether studies, because if stuff isn't fire resistant, for single target, using an imp is actually a very good option if you're good on threat, because the imp will do a lot of damage, especially if it's a shorter fight and you have the black book. It can do upwards to 700 DPS just imp, and also very good in battlegrounds, running this build with an imp. So, I mean, that's the basics. So, I mean, it's basically Hellfire, do shit tons of damage and a lot of threat. Other than that, just you pull with a Soulfire into an Immolate, into a Shadowburn. Then you get some good snap threat. You just Curse of Elements, spam Searing Pain until your Immolate falls off. That lines up quite nicely with the Power Overwhelming. This doesn't help you with your threat, but you do a lot more damage using your pet. That's why I also run Demonic Precision and Unleash Potential. This scales really well with the Succubus. It barely scales at all with Void Walker. Void Walker does no damage, even with all the demon talents. But this scales incredibly well with Imp. Your Imp will do like more than 3 times the damage. So yeah, you're gonna end up being one of the higher DPS if you have the right gear. A lot of it is quite obtainable at the moment, but you will also want to go, and if you really try harding, which I'm trying to do now, is get a new PP set, because it's just insane, especially the 6-up bonus. So you're never gonna replace this until the new PP set releases, because you can't break that 6 set. So if you don't have the old PvP gloves, because you can't get them anymore, then I'd suggest either you have always a paladin with you, or you go for at least a 2 set from the blue pieces. They're not super strong, but at least they're decently statted, some of them. Right. And the biggest thing here is your healers need to know what to do. Because if they're not keeping your pet up, it's just not gonna work that well. You're gonna have to resummon the pet every fight, and you'll die. Shout out to Kuhal. He made a very good macro. So if you have a PFUI, just modify the macro and then give it to your healers, and they will put whatever pet you have up on focus. I'll put it in the description, along with the BIS list for this phase. Well, the BWL phase. The BIS list does not include the PvP gear. Yeah. Expect to spend a lot of gold though, because there's a lot of consumables going into this. I barely ever run Flask of Supreme Power anymore, because with the new buffs to Searing Pain, my threat is fine. So I'll go with Flask of the Titans. But I use this. It's a little extra, but sometimes I have to DPS when there's something fire immune. There is a spec I used to run. It's basically a Affliction PvP spec where you go Soul Link and then Resident Affliction. Just tank with Drain Soul. But there are better options for tanking those specific bosses, but you can do a lot of threat even without getting hit, and there's no other resistance tank that comes close. You're just great, and your AoE threat is unmatched. Paladins, they're not even close. But yeah, armor is key. Devotion Aura, Elixir of Superior Defense. You have a Crystal Ward. It's from the pylons in Ngoro, the West Pylon. That one is nice to have. Sadly, it disappears every time you die. So expect to, and it doesn't last that long, so expect to use a lot of them, but they're cheap to get. And also, you have the Spirit of Sansa, but that one does not stack with Lung Juice. That's from Last of Lands. But it stacks with this one. So I usually run this for farm content, and then when I have to do some serious AoE tanking, I'll swap over to Spirit of Sansa. Especially if you have a druid running the Emerald Sanctum buff, because that gives you 10% run speed. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have this then. But it frees up putting stamina on your boots instead of minor run speed. So where it can get tricky is there's a lot of fire resistant mobs. So I'm also running a build or a gear set with 125 spell pen. So most important thing is the spell pen from Karazhan. The crystals you get there and turn in for enchants. You have the Outback Valley one, the Warzone Gulch, and Bloodring Arena. These two only require friendly, so they're pretty easy to get. But yeah, exalted AV. And here I run spell pen on both rings, and then I use this one from Hateforge. This puts me at exactly 125. That together with Curse of Elements gives me to 200 spell pen. And there's nothing in Molten Core that is an immune that has more than 200. The only mob that I know of that has more than 200 is the new boss in Onyxia. It has like 285. So you're not even getting close. So probably can tank it, but I wouldn't recommend it. You're better off as an off tank there, tanking the ads. And then you're easily getting high resistance. And for some of the bosses, I run spell pen paired with resistance. Because most of the time when you're tanking those ads, they're level 61, so you need to get to 305. So this would, an aura or a totem get you to 365 or 305. And then, squeeze in as much spell pen as I can, because most of the mobs have 93 resistance and you'll be tanking. But this is, like for tanking Gar and things. It's not the end of the world if you're not fully capped. So that's about it. Let me know if I missed something. I'll happily answer any questions anyone has. And yeah, have fun Warlock tanking.